Dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my name is Manuel Palz. I'm working for the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action of the Federal Republic of Germany. It's my pleasure to join today's workshop as the topic of energy efficiency has become even more important since the beginning of 2022 in the light of the current energy crisis. If you want to achieve carbon neutrality in the building sector, today's topic, transition towards net zero energy buildings, is of utmost importance. Thus, in my presentation, I would like to share selected best practice examples from Germany of climate neutral construction and refurbishment. I have structured my presentation into 4 topics. I would start with a brief overview of common terms and definitions, and trying to summarize what is actually understood by climate neutral construction here in our case. After that, I will present you an overview on current trends in the building sector that we have identified here during a study. And after that, I will introduce you to the Federal Climate Change Act that is the major source of our endeavors here in Germany. Later, I will introduce you to 3 best practice examples that I have selected for you, hopefully giving you a good overview on various aspects of climate neutral refurbishment and constructions. The building requirements have become more and more stringent in recent decades. Triggered by the oil crisis in the 1970s, the focus was initially on reducing energy consumption. We're going this pyramid from the bottom to the top. Through the use of renewable energy, it was subsequently possible to avoid carbon dioxide emissions to an ever greater extent. Today, it is possible to operate energy efficient buildings with self-generated energy in a way that it is at least carbon neutral. Since there are hardly any negative emission technologies for other greenhouse gases, so far, achieving greenhouse gas neutrality requires overachieving the respect of carbon dioxide and thus a negative carbon dioxide emission balance. The building sector can only be called truly carbon neutral with its entire life cycle if it has no impact on global average temperature. This may be unattainable because any change in the air pollution, for example from soot for particulate matter or by cloud cover, has an effect on the Earth's surface. Certain effects could be possible by offset amongst themselves or by additional negative emissions, but final control seems impossible. Sustainable building considers not only the ecological aspect, but also the economic and social cultural aspects of building in equal measure. Building measures are only sustainable if their economic and social cultural consequences for society are acceptable and the requirements of the present are met without risking that future generations will not be able to satisfy their own needs. Summarizing, energy efficiency and carbon dioxide neutral constructions are only considering buildings in operation, whilst greenhouse gas neutral, climate neutral, and sustainable construction are having a wider perspective and acknowledging the full life cycle of buildings. So that means sustainable construction considers significantly more aspects with an ecological, economical, social, structural background. The entire life cycle is considered from the cradle to the grave. This type of holistic approach has been propagated since the 1990s by international green labels such as LEED, BREEAM, and also DGNB, but is only slowly gaining widespread acceptance. In Germany, financial support for new buildings under Sustainable Building Quality label (QNG) is now possible only in conjunction with sustainable certification. Coming to my next topic, the selected trends. So with our partners, we have done a small research and we have identified these 6 trends as one of the most interesting, which I'd like to present a little bit. Looking from the building to the building materials itself, it's important in order to avoid the emission contained in the products as far as possible. There are promising approaches available based on renewable materials. Questions around the topic of sufficiency deal with reduction of the essential. This involves the organization and minimization of usable space as well as redensification in urban areas. We have seen that there is this trend of this year in Germany of even larger rooms and buildings. At the very moment, the average size of a household of 4 people is roughly with 100 square meters. Given the fact that we have limited space, if we want to keep the environment growing, then we need to go back to a very sufficient lifestyle. And as I have listened to it earlier, you have also discussed about automation and digitalization. So this is a very important aspect as well. The automated control of buildings based on the digital evaluation of a wide variety of usage and consumption data provides a clear overview of the process in the building and makes it possible to optimize the interaction of technical components and provides comfort precisely and only when it's needed. Especially in the context of neighborhoods and districts, it is possible to benefit from synergies from different sectors, such as building, energy, industry, and transport, if the generation, consumption, and storage of energy is coordinated in such a way that extensive self-sufficiency can take place and, for example, surplus heat from industry can cover the heating demand of apartments. However, there are also valuable low-tech approaches where the use of elaborated technology is deliberately avoided as far as possible in order to be able to influence the indoor climate essentially through forward-looking planned structural measures. The time factor is playing an increasingly important role in meeting climate targets. Serial and renovation should only greatly simplify and accelerate it in the planning and manufacturing process. Last but not least, buildings must be adapted to climate change and be resilient in order to withstand changing and more extreme weather conditions. So coming to the Federal Climate Change Act, I would like to share with you that this has been the second form of it. The first one was drafted in 2020, and there was the ruling by the German High Court that it is not satisfying enough for future generations, and therefore it has been amended. All the German policies that I'm talking about here are, of course, embedded in the European policies, for example, the New Green Deal and the Fit for 5. Following, the amendment that I've been talking about earlier provides for raising carbon dioxide emissions reduction targets. The targets for 2030 is to be increased by 10 percentage points to at least 65% compared to 1999. So Germany's aim actually is to become greenhouse gas neutral by 2045, which is even 5 years earlier than the European Union as the first continent that aims to become neutral. I hope you can see this chart and can see the figure here in the building sector that I have marked or have bolded. Especially for the building sector, the amended Climate Change Act sets ambitious targets. As you can see on the table, the sector must reduce its carbon dioxide emissions by 68% until 2030. So that means we in Germany, we have to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions by half in less than 7 years. As a part of this Federal Climate Change Act, if a sector fails to meet the annual recommendations, the sector is obliged to draft or to announce a so-called immediate action program that helps to close the gap. The last 2 years, the building sector has failed to meet these targets, and therefore we've been obliged to develop new measures that close the gap and bring us back on track to reach the envisioned results. Here you can see even another chart where you can see the planned emissions. The building sector is the purple line. So we have to reduce on a steady way, but if you keep in mind that buildings are very slowly moving and that investments take a while until they show their results, we have a very, very steep path to take. So now I would like to share with you 3 examples from Germany that we consider as valuable in order to present. There are actually more examples, but given the time, I would only select these 3. With the Cradle, a multi-story office building in hybrid wood construction is being built in Düsseldorf's Mediahafen. Düsseldorf is a city in Western Germany. The multiple use of the building material wood is the most visible building block of a consistently forward-looking sustainable concept. As the name suggests, the Cradle uses the cradle-to-the-cradle principle. The building was designed from the outset in such a way that later recyclability of the materials and building materials are used is guaranteed. The result is a sustainable hybrid wood construction, an element construction in which all the essential building elements are made of wood, with the exception of the basement, the ground floor, and the core. There we have used concrete. The renewable material replaces fossil raw materials such as concrete and plastic, stores carbon as it grows, and improves the carbon footprint of the project. The building construction follows the design for dismantling principle, relies, for example, on detectable connections and cleans separately of the materials used. Here's some basic facts of the Cradle. As a particular challenge of the project was the combination of the implementation of a complex timber construction and a building based on the cradle-to-the-cradle principle, since there was only a limited number of solutions for both topics at the start of the project in 2017. Under economic conditions, the Cradle was designed in a laboratory. To speak and develop as an individual prototype, the planning process, design, construction, and life cycle were fundamentally rethought. The Cradle was also a kind of pilot project with regards to the documentation of all installed materials. So the Cradle we have given it a building passport. There was also a challenge in procuring climate material. There was also a challenge in procuring circular materials and products. In this regard, there's a lack of consistent transparency on the part of the building material industry as to the actual sustainability of building materials and products, whether they contain toxins or how high, for example, the carbon dioxide emissions and water consumption has really been. Coming to the achievements of this example, so a total of 1,152 tons of carbon dioxide could be saved by substituting reinforced concrete with wood. All materials are checked and selected, resulting in about 98% of the Cradle's materials being recyclable. After completion, the Cradle will be the first pilot project in Germany to be registered under the Madesta platform, a global online register for materials and building products. And it has proven that buildings mapped can be used as a raw material depot. The next example is an example from the energy sprung principle. This apartment block you can see here actually originates from the 1930s and is consisting of 3 two-story buildings that were in very poor structural condition and therefore stood empty for a long time. In addition, this quarter was known as a social hotspot. When the owner started refurbishment in 2017, it was a pilot project as well. Especially in the segment of socially acceptable living space with low rents per square meter, the high cost of a conventional energy-saving renovation are not economically viable. Against this backdrop, energy sprung is an ecologically and economically attractive alternative. The energy sprung principle originated in the Netherlands was mainly used in single-family homes before and had to be transferred to the German housing market, which is primarily characterized by apartment buildings. The process differs significantly from classic energetic modernization. The entire renovation process had to be completely rethought. In addition, the living space should still be affordable for financially weak tenants and even after the renovation. Basic facts are shown here. So this model has been an award-winning example. It has been shown that it is technically possible to transfer serial refurbishment from single-family homes to multifamily dwellings, and that even existing buildings in the worst energy efficiency class can be brought up to the net zero standard with serial refurbishment based on the energy sprung principle. However, it also became clear that the building substance should be analyzed in detail in advance, and that there must be more time be spent on planning, and that together with housing associations, construction companies, and solution providers, a serial renovation kit needs to be developed on the basis of these findings. That will significantly accelerate the energy transition in existing buildings. If we see that in Germany, we have a building stock that has already been built, this is one of the crucial challenges that we are facing here. I'm coming to my last example. This is a quarter of a university city in Rosenheim, and this quarter is characterized by a particular open development with communal green meeting points. Meeting places were created through additional areas with different functionalities, such as learning rooms, fitness areas, or common multifunctional rooms. In total, the campus includes 211 apartments for students and a further 40 apartments in the boarding house. And all this is done after the KfW 40 plus standard. The heat supply is provided by the district heating of the city of Rosenheim. In order to achieve the sustainability requirements, various aspects that caused conflicts in their objectives had to be negotiated with each other. All those involved in the planning had to work closely together. Space-saving focus and the high energy standards of a KfW 40 plus houses based on the passive house standard also led to further interface issues. However, the achievements are obvious. This project was not only intended to create a living space, the ambition was also to create an innovative, enriching, inspiring space for the formative phase of life as a student. For this reason, the quarter is designed in a settlement structure that promotes togetherness. It's characterized by a variety of sustainable aspects, with the use of wood playing an important role. This material offers a large carbon dioxide storage capacity and has contributed to the reduction of the construction time when processed in prefigurable wood panel elements. It has saved 1,200 tons of carbon dioxide compared to solid construction. If you compare the project with reference buildings over a period of 50 years, this results in a carbon dioxide saving of 6,400 tons. A sustainable approach was also taken when purchasing the building materials. All the materials come from Bavarian forest, from sustainable forest management. In addition, 100% of the old mass of a warehouse formerly located on this property was reused. 70% of the energy supply comes from the company's own electricity, which is generated by the photovoltaic system, battery storage on the rooftop. Numerous cooling green areas with lawns, trees, and bushes can now be found on the property, where previously there were 100% sealed area. Rainwater is kept on the property for as long as possible by means of roof areas, green courtyard areas, and underground trenches with infiltration options. The planning played an integrated role in the realization of the project. The implementation of the campus Rosenheim was only possible because of the cooperative planning. The team expanded to include the execution companies and their expertise in constructions. And that's part of my presentation. I would like to thank everybody. And one more time, please apologize the technical problem in the beginning. Thank you.